This video is made possible by Gabbery. Make sure you check out gabbery.net. Link will be in the description. You can check them out for all different links of spoilers, silver calculator, content creators, and sets for all types of images and information. And link will be in the description. Go. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. We are going to do something a little bit different today. I know we talked about before how I'm not doing meta breakdown reports as much, only because of the end of the season. I don't have much going on in the forms of that. So what I'm going to do is that we're going to break down some interesting lists at top events. This one is going to be a Water Arisanna list. As I said, it's going to be a little bit from the Taiwan regional, but we're going to go ahead and break that down. So getting into it, as we stated, this is a Water Arisanna list. It is Fragment, Spirit of Water Arisanna. And you notice something a little different. It is Lucent Arbiter. So this is the one that you go to pay 3, you tap it, reveal the top card of the deck, and you negate target card activation. If your revealed card is the same cost as the card they're trying to activate. For example, if your opponent is trying to cast Ghost of Pendragon, which is a 2-cost card, you activate Arisanna Lucent Arbiter, pay 3, tap it, reveal the top, and ends up being a fast cure, which is also a 2-cost card. Ghost of Pendragon has now been negated. So that's how that works. And the rest of the trick, we have Chalice of Blood, Ingredient Pouch, Nullifying Lantern, Polaris, which is the new Proxy's Vault card, Quicksilver Arrow, Cosmic Astrolabe, Lunar Conduit, and the Elysian Astrolabe. And then going into the main deck here, we have 4 Dungeon Guides, 4 Empowering Prayer, 4 Fast Cures, 2 Gentle Respite, 4 Scries, 2 Conjure Downpours, 4 Flash Freeze, 4 Fracturize, 4 Frostbind, 4 Stream of Conscious, 4 Astrocyte, 4 Astro Seal, 4 Comicite, 2 Meteor Strike, 1 Prima, 2 Scarlet Stars, 3 Spell Asher, and 4 Constellary Spire. Yeah, that's a lot. So sort of break it down this deck. We're going to pretty much do this as a deck, is we're going to break down in sort of the main gameplay. The main game is usually level 1, level 2. But you do have some interesting interactions with it. Because you have Fragment Spirit of Water, you do get the Fragment Spirit token, which lets you draw a card if you're level 3+. With Empowering Prayer, Empowering Prayer, if you're level 0, you pay 2, put it down, you now have 2 cards into your memory, you can draw a card. If you have a second one, you can do it again, go up to level 4, and then draw a card off this token. There's also a way you could do this where if you already cast a Scarlet Skies on your turn, you're level 1, you have Empowering Prayer, which will give you 3, draw a card, and then you can go ahead and hit level 3 again off of being level 1 Arisanna to draw a card early. So cards like Empowering Prayer does let you go ahead and but does help filter your deck a little bit more consistently, as well as getting a lot of different instances of card draw. Speaking of card draw, you have cards like Gentle Respite. If you're facing an opponent that likes to draw more cards than you, because you are sort of the control deck, you are sort of, even though you are doing pass go, you're still trying to set up into your turns with your Astra. You could do Gentle Respite for the floating memory cost, as well as draw a card because of that, because of the fact that your opponent will have a greater influence than yourself. You have the Dungeon Guides in here for the main game plan as usual, which is to go to level 3 a little bit early. You have Fast Cure, another good card for fast floating memory, 2 costs to counter some of those painful cards that you might see a lot, and then it also lets you recover 4. And then you have Scarlet Skies, which is set up for Scarlet Stars. You get to use 4 of these, help filter off top of your deck, let you really set up your Arisanna level 3. So you're going to put the card you might think your opponent's going to cast on top of your deck, let you filter a little bit better. So the fact that your opponent might have something like you feel like they're going to cast a Ghost of Pendragon, they're going to cast a Fireball, they're going to cast something that you know that they have in their hand. You can scry the cards and set up perfectly with Scry Skies. They're going to set that up perfectly to get the reveal off the Arisanna trigger. Conjure Downpour is a good card in here. The fact that you get to go ahead and -2 all attacks, good versus the Water Ally list, good versus any list that want to play aggressively. The fact this hits all units for -2, it's like almost like a Resolute stand, but a little bit better because you don't have the downside of not being able to draw a card if you free cast it. Downside though, you do have to pay the 3 to cast it, so you need 3 cards in your hand at all times. But the upside on top of it is that since Conjure Downpour is already a 3 cost and it does have a class bonus memory 4+, if you cast anything else in your last turn or previously, you get to go ahead and do the draw card into your memory mechanic off of the Conjure Downpour, which replaced itself. Flash Freeze is a good card. We don't run enough water in here to run something like Cerulean Decree. Because of that, Flash Freeze is good. You have a class bonus to cost to us, so there's a 2 cost. And the fact it's pretty much like a secondary Frostbind, but sometimes it could be a little bit better. Because you have herbs that let you gain an extra level, you have Empowering Prayer that can gain your levels, you could be level 3 already, but Flash Freeze does end up costing more than a Frostbind. Frostbind is needed 2 to go ahead and pay to counter that activation of the card, and they can allow their activation to resolve. Flash Freeze can go up to 3, even higher, because it is based off your level, and it does also get the Banish mechanic to filter into your Astro Seal a little bit better later on in the game. Fracturize is pretty much just your staple water card at this point. 4 Frostbind as well. 4 Stream of Consciousness, so this card lets you go ahead and replace itself. If you want to go ahead and get the Glimpse, you can cast it, hold priority, cast a secondary one, get the 2 draws, and both of them will have the memory 4 ability trigger, where you get the Glimpse 3 off of both of them to filter off your top of your deck. You have the Astrocyte, which is pretty common, which is Star Calling 0, Glimpse 1, draw a card, pretty self-explanatory. Astro Seal, pretty much one of the cards that help make this deck work. Astro Seal is a card that you go ahead and cast it for free if your opponent has the card that you're negating or attempting to negate already in their banish zone. So if they're trying to cast Incarnate Magistrate, Ghost and Pendragon, Spirit Ball, Sungeon, Fireball, Arcane Blast. Depending on what you're playing, if it's already in their banish zone, you get to cast Astro Seal for free, and then you get to banish that card as well, so you get another free activation later on down the way. Even if you decided to pay 3 and hard counter it, as long as this goes through and the banishment happens, then your next Astro Seal is free to use on that same target. And pretty much this works out because we're going to talk about a little bit later on why these counter spells are a little bit good as well. Comet Fall is brought in because Comet Fall is the card that pretty much is one of your damage source. I was on top of the Polaris, which is make you Comet Bolts, or Comet Bolts, I should say, sorry. You have Comet Fall. Deal 4 to everything that isn't your champion. Because pretty much it's not Astro Elements. It's not as good if you're facing the mirror matchup versus another Arisanna, because one of you will take damage. So you have to be a little bit careful when you want to go ahead and cast Comet Fall. Meteor Strike's another good card because the fact you get to deal 3 to all units, doesn't matter what they are, except for your champion. And you also have the secondary effect if you're facing like Merlin and they do resolve an Incarnate Magistrate that you're not able to counter. Meteor Strike on its own casting, not Star Called, lets you go ahead and deal with Incarnate Magistrate so you start getting your chip damage with your spells and other abilities. Premium Material, if you're in the weird situation where you're lucky enough to go ahead and have 4 herbs to go ahead and get the secondary effect online with a brew, great. Otherwise, this card does let you go ahead and tap it to draw a card in the memory, so this is good to have overall. Let you keep on filtering the top cards of your deck, which has always been a problem for Arisanna. Arisanna doesn't really get to draw a lot, so this does help you go ahead and draw cards on top of your deck. You keep on filling your hand more and more influence to have all your counter spells, and then close the game out later on once you control the board state enough. Scarlet Stars in here. It lets you go ahead and cast it for free if you have Scarlet Skies, which you have 4 of. And then on the turn, while you're glimpsing, all your cards start calling X, where X is the card's reserve cost, glimpse 3. So it's pretty much another way to glimpse. You can glimpse into a couple different targets. I'm not sure too much what we're going to glimpse into. We can glimpse into maybe the Constellary Spire if we want. You cast into your Meteor Strike or your Comet Fall or a Prima, for example, and get the Prima cost for Star Calling and cast a little bit faster. You have the Infinite Loop combo where you go ahead until in turn you may pay 0 rather than pay Star Calling cost with the Astral Lobe, and then you glimpse 5 so you can forever cast your deck. You have Spell Shield Astra, which is brought in for the fact that you get to go ahead and Spell Shield Astra is going to let you go ahead and pretty much like Spell Shield, prevent the damage, and then glimpse that many. And then pretty much the main combo piece of this deck. And it's not even a combo, it's just sort of your win con, is the Constellary Spire. There's not a lot of people running Domain. This isn't a unique domain, which is great. But this card does have a class bonus. This card costs 2 less to activate, which then goes down from 3 to 1 if your class bonus, which you're a cleric. You have unentered draw cards, so it replaces itself. And then you have whenever you negate target card activation, you may rest this Spire if you do deal 2 to target unit. So you don't get to infinite loop this in one turn, but you do get to go ahead and have multiple copies in the field. We can do 2, 4, 6, 8 damage on a single turn whenever you decide to go ahead and negate a card, which does stack up. I mean, 8, 16, 24, 3 of them activating 3 times, having 4 of them activate 3 times. Boom, your opponent's more likely dead on usual. So it's a good thing to keep in mind overall on how you want to play this deck. This is a very interesting control list. I mean, I'm super excited. I might try this myself. We have some upcoming events. So I'm probably going to bring this list out and see how it plays. I think if you guys are trying to find something new for Arisanna and want to try something a little bit different, I recommend playing this deck. This deck seems super cool and interesting. Like I said, it plays, I think, 5th in Taiwan regionals, which is a pretty strong showing for this deck as a whole. So as long as you're sort of used to the deck, it's a pretty good thing to have. In the sideboard, you have the Necklace of Foresight to add more glimpses. You have Safeguard Amulet brought in for the Mirror, brought in for Ride, brought in for Merlin, brought in for Slimes. A lot of good targets and obviously Safeguard Amulet in the meta, so it's always good to have this in the sideboard, if not your main deck. If you want to just start removing something like Nullifying Lantern and putting Safeguard Amulet in there instead. Sort of helps with Erupting, but so does Nullifying Lantern, and also help with Nico, which is probably what this is sort of built for, because I know Southeast Asia is really big on the Nico list. So running something like Nullifying Lantern in their main board is a little bit more prominent for them. Sorokara is brought in because you have the Dustlike Communion. Most are bound for the Sylvies. You want to D-level Sylvie, so you can't get the free attacks in. A lot of people aren't running Beastbond Ears anymore, so let you go ahead and punish that if they're not running the Ears in their deck. Fractal Intrusion is good for the Mirror, good for win decks, because you get to go ahead and banish a card from their, sorry, not banish, discard a card from their memory with the active Fractal Intrusion, so as you go ahead and get rid of the people's main combo pieces if you need to go ahead and resolve the game out in that way. Then you have Astarte. Astarte is good, brought in for Merlin. Prevents the Incarnate Magic from coming down, which is pretty much what this is in here for. pretty much, if you're facing Merlin, you can't let Deer resolve. If Deer resolves at any point in the game and you're out of meter strikes, you don't have any more meter strikes, it's pretty much game over for you as Ari. So pretty much your main goal in the Merlin matchups is to go ahead and prevent Merlin from resolving their Incarnate Match Rate and trying to keep the board clear as much as possible, leaving up your counter spells for something like Fireballs or Ghost of Pendragons if you need to a little bit later on. Now talking matchups. Like I said, this is a really interesting list. This has some interesting matchups as a whole. The fact that you have, this is going to be good into allies because you have board clears, you have a counter on meter strike if you're able to survive long enough to level up, well as fast gear. You have cards like Conjure Downpour to go and buy some extra turns as well. Slimes are interesting. You have Flash Freezes, you have Frostbinds, you have Astral Seals. Pretty much want to try and count out the Storm Slimes. If you count out the Storm Slimes, you pretty much get away with winning the victory. You could use Meteor Strike to go ahead and kill Ethereal Slime. You have Comet Fall as well to try and clear the board, which both are really good to deal with cards like Twilight Slime. Twilight Slime resolves, you cannot no longer target because you have Spell Shroud, but because of the fact you have Comet Fall and Meteor Strike, which does do board wipe level abilities, you can get around that Spell Shroud mechanic. Nico, I think this decent than Nico. I don't know. It's really hard to say how this does Nico. Nico's one of those hit and miss matchups, and Nico high rolls you, and it high rolls you pretty hard. So it's something you want to keep in mind. Rai, this is. I'm actually curious how the Rai matchup works because Rai banishes a lot of arcane cards. So you have cards like Astral that does let you go ahead and banish a lot more punishingly. But you have to keep a lot of interaction as well as Spell Shield Astra for the trying to come off on their combo turns. So you have to be a little bit careful on how some of these things interact and your sort of your sequence of the plays. It might be a little bit more of a skill matchup in between Rai versus Arisanna. If you're facing a lot of Rais, like I said, you might want to familiar yourself more with that matchup. Maybe a little more skilled, maybe a little favor towards Rai. It's a little hard to say. It really depends on your opening hands and how people are playing in this type of matchup as a whole. But yeah. That's all I got for you, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, this is something new. I'm bringing shoutouts to Dragon JG for this list. I'm bringing it into the Taiwan Regional and placing well with it. I'm going to keep on doing a couple more of these coming up. There's a couple of lists that I found that I want to go ahead and keep you up to date on. With that being said, I hope everyone has a good one, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.